to be with you all on this Sunday morning, which is raining quite heavily. I'm sure raining, yes, in the satsang, so that His grace keeps raining on all of us. And as we embark on this journey, which we started last week on Sailing on Desires, let's carry it further. It's very important, as we understand, we had done this this whole session earlier on how the life, how the fate, how the karma comes as a resound, reflection, and reaction. So let's start with this particular slide, when we see a movie director, when we see a Hollywood or Bollywood movies, we see the directors spelling out light, sound, action, and then the camera rolls and the movie starts, right? Something in that line, the cosmic director also seems to have done this, which is emulated by these directors now so called. So how it started, just as it started with the word light, you know, it resulted into reflection. Wherever there is light, there's a reflection, right? That's how light got into the cosmic parlance. Then it was sound which came as a resound, reverberation, and then finally action which came as a reaction. So as Bhagavan has been saying, life is nothing but reaction, resound, and reflection. This is perhaps an analogy to connect how the worldly directors put it across when they roll the cameras. Now, adding to this reflection, resound, and reaction, when we think about reflection, when we talk about reflection, it's the thought. Okay, we reflect upon it. When we talk about resound, it's the word. And when we talk about reaction, it's a deed. So basically, it's a gameplay between thought, word, and deed. And when this thought, word, and deed are in symphony, in complete unanimity, then the Trikarna Shuddhi happens. And that's where Bhagavan says that you achieve the divine destination. As long as there is a distortion, there is a difference between thought, word, and mind thinks something, heart feels something, hands does something, the destination is still away. So let's remind ourselves for the thought for the day that we used to display earlier in the previous sessions of the yesteryears. It's very important to start today with this because it has got some connection with the topics that we're going to discuss. Swami says when you wake up, feel that you are entering the stage to play the role assigned. So we are all entering this world. When you are entering means when you are born to play the role assigned. We have got some prarabdha karma out of Sanchit to play a certain role. Pray that we may act it. Now let's pray to Swami earnestly that we should be able to act and earn his approbation that well done, my guys. Well done, my boy. You have done great so far. When we look into our conscience, can we get that acknowledgement from God? Do we think we have done it the right yesterday or a day before? I don't think so. And that is where self-audit comes. Let's go on. At night, when you retire to sleep, Swami says, feel that you are entering the green room after the scene with the costume of the role still on. That is, I'm still Bindu Shekhar. I'm still Brother Satya. I'm still Brother, Shastri or anyone. It is still on for perhaps the role is not over. The word perhaps is important because it talks about anything can change in life any moment. The thing which we saw that video, right? It's a kawali with a lot of Urdu dialects. That's why we put it's very important. Chढ़ता सूरज धीरे धीरे ढलता है ढल जाएगा. That means anything which rises is bound to come down. Why we think in this impermanent world everything to be permanent, and that's why we pray Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. Oh Lord, take me from darkness to light, from temporal to permanent. That's an important part of the prayer, right? So perhaps our role is not over. Perhaps we have not been yet told to take our costume off. Perhaps we have to make another entrance. That means tomorrow when we get up, if we get up, we may have to make an entrance. And how we get up, whether we get up in the same way as we are today, it's his blessing. Things may change when you see the disturbances, whether it is natural calamities, whether it is man-made. I mean, when you look at the higher sense, yes, man has made all these calamities where exploitation of nature has resulted into natural calamities. But when we get up, are we into that scene of disturbance where everything has changed overnight? Yesterday, I was watching one of these new movies, remake of 1984 riots, which happened. And you should see how the scene changed for some people overnight. And that's where this word perhaps is very important for us not to take everything for granted. Do not worry about that. Swami says, place yourself fully at his disposal. Now we get too much worried about future. Bhagwan says, past is history, future is mystery. Present is the only omnipresent. It's the only present. Present means gift. It's the only gift that we have from God is now. We can change it now. We can reverse it now. So do not worry, place yourself at disposal. He knows. He has written the play. Mark these words, brothers and sisters. We have dealt upon it enough in those sessions. He knows he has written the play. He knows how it will go on, how it will end. Yours is now. It's only when we give this particular statement that act and retire, submit everything to him, offer everything to him. That is the time when he takes over the play, when he guides the play, just as he did with the Pandavas. All right. It's very important for us to understand that once we surrender, when we have that Sharanagati, when we say, Tere Siva Prabhu Koi Nahi hai, that's the time he comes. That's when he came for Draupadi. When she moved around with Dwarika Vasi, you know, to Gokul Vasi and all that. And finally she said, Hriday Vasi, and he manifested the sari. The rest is history. And what does this say? Act and retire. That means Nishkam Karma. That is no desire of fruits of action. All right. So that's an important part for a reminder that when we are progressing, when we are doing in life, let's live in the present, which is the only thing we have in hand. With his grace, offer everything, and do everything which will please him. Sarva karma bhagavat prityartham. It's important to understand when we self audit, did we do the things by and large where Swami will be happy, we can earn his approbation? That's an important part for us to dive within. Let's move on. So today is 18th September, Sunday Satsang. Basically, we are tuning in again to invoke his love, his glory, his grace as we move on into next few days or weeks till we meet again, to understand that he takes over our life. And Satsang, there can't be a better way than Satsang coming together in any form that we come in, whether in thoughts, words, or deeds that we said, so that we reprioritize Bhagavan and then the world, and then lastly ourselves. What we have done is, as these weeks and days go by, we suddenly start prioritizing ourselves as the highest. And this is a recalibration moment where we think, no, God is the one which is of the highest priority. And the moment we reprioritize this, He will also reprioritize and put us in that. And we are reaching out, not realizing that He's waiting for us. He's waiting for that outreach. When we take that one step, that self effort, which is absolutely necessary, honest self effort for His grace to be invoked. All right. So the four main, goalposts of the man's existence on earth is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now look at this sequence. It starts with dharma, which is righteousness, which has to be the fundamental for artha, for kama, so that you can lead into moksha. Now, sadly, what has happened or what is happening, including myself, including us, is dharma and moksha has gone out of our complete radar. It's gone out of our vision. What we are left, the existence now left is only with kama and artha. Kama is desire, artha is, gaining, earning as much as you can. When you are now left with only two, with the main guiding post or the star of dharma gone, it's time that Bhagavan said that he should recalibrate, realign us back into the mainstream by putting something called sealing on desires. In 1975, when Bhagavan wrote this letter to one of the devotees, I think it was written to Brother John Hislop, the important line that I've highlighted there is, meditation is nothing else but rising above desires. Swami knows, our glorious God, He knows desire is one of the most lethal ingredient in our daily lives, which keeps us separated from Bhagavan, right? So it's an important part that we have embarked upon to understand, and not only to understand, but to implement the sealing of desires in the parlance that Swami set it out for, for all the Sai devotees. Now, desire has been stopping the spiritual progression, right? Desire is something which deflects us again from God to the world. It depends what kind of desire, but mostly when you see, when we are all attacked by this kam krodh lobh bodh moha, we are laying reigning helplessly, a victim to desire, and that creates a wall between human and God, right? It does not allow. And we saw how Swami gave in the interview to Blitz editor Karanjia, where he says, life plus desire is man, life minus desire is God. That's a very simple equation, but if you look deeper into it, it talks all about this the whole game plan of desires. God ceases when the desire seizes the mind. Okay, it's an important. Swami always used to say, heart is a single seated sofa. You can't have three seater, go and buy a leg L shaped sofa, and also many can say, no, this heart belongs to only one. And if we decide that one to be Swami, then of course he takes over the reins. So when God ceases, that means stops, only when desire ceases, that is, captures the mind. All right. We saw in the case of Prabhu Ram and Sita, Ma Sita, as long as Ma Sita, she left everything, every palatial comfort to accompany Rama to the forest, right? Forest, again, we say, is for rest, where we try to put our minds into rest. Now, she accompanied Rama. Everything for her was to help, to satisfy Rama, to please Rama, and that is where the peace was reigning, right? She was in supreme bliss. Never mind what the outside world was, huts or fruits or jungles. It didn't matter. She was in complete bliss. Now, what happened the moment Kama came, the moment the deer came, the golden deer, the moment she had this Kama, when you see this karma, all that she was doing as a karma yoga, when R started moving out, that is Rama in karma moved off, then it was left with Kama. That is, the Kama desire came into Sita and Rama was left. And the peace, because of the desire I symbolized by I, it changed into peace. That means it broke her peace into pieces. She was then deprived of the company of Rama for a long time till he got her back. It's an important part for us to understand. The moment this I, which is like a eight headed serpent, Ars Vargas, the moment it steps in, the piece will turn into pieces, brothers and sisters. It's for us to understand, and then once we consciously work towards it, the desire will cease, that is, stop, when God will seize the mind. When we deliberately, consciously practice this, to have in the single seated sofa only Bhagavan, when he reigns there, obviously the desire or the karma is going to cease. All right. This is an important part for us to understand, that it does affect. Now, Rumi once said, the Persian philosopher, very nicely, he said, when he was asked what is a poison, and he says, anything which is more than what is necessary is a poison. It may be power, wealth, hunger. Now look at this statement. It's a very generic statement, but how beautiful it says. If we eat too much, it's going to be a poison. If you have too much of money, we are going to misuse and it turns out to be poison, right? If you drink too much, it's going to be poison. So everything within the limits will not be a poison, but the moment we cross the limits, it becomes a poison. And poison is in everything, he says. It's the dosage that makes it, dangerous or helpful. Now, Bhagavan says the person filled with greed, fear, anger cannot achieve anything. Excessive desires degrades the man. You cannot give up desires entirely, but there should be a limit to them. This is where the sealing part we are going to talk about is. Bhagavan said there has to be a limit. When they exceed the limits, you will go astray. Desires are dreadfully dangerous. Today's enemy may become tomorrow's friend, and vice versa. But desire and greed are your perpetual enemies. There is no terms, conditions. It is straightforward. They are perpetual enemies. Nitya Shatru, Bhagavan says. Desire as Nitya Shatru. Hence, keep the desire under control. All right. So this is an important part for us to understand why Bhagwan had to come out, especially to make devotees understand, because he knew that in the entire game plan of spiritual progression, this was the biggest roadblock, desire, right? Because we are all sitting wherever we are doing certain things because we have desire to do, whether it is for a child, whether it is for parents, whether it is for society, somewhere or the other, whatever we are doing, it's born out of a desire. And both good and bad, both the desires have an outcome, because we are not doing a nishkama karma where we are just offering it without any sense of attachment to the fruits of action. If we do that, excellent. Now, what is sealing on desires? I think last week we spoke about this. This is a slide where we stopped. I want peace, and when we change, remove the I and the want, and that is where the peace is left, right? So let's go a little deeper on what's the desire, how Swami has spoken about it. Swami says unlimited desires lead to sorrow. These act as handicap to a spiritual progress. And we saw Bhagwan said in the letter that we saw, he wrote to Brother John Hislop in 1975, where he says, meditation is rising above the desire. Now, these are handicaps to spiritual progress. Limitless desire destroys one's happiness. And then he says, if we fry the seeds of desires, it won't sprout again. Correct? So, any seed that you put within in the ground sprouts, but when you fry them in samarpan, in sarnagati, when you fry them out of devotion, bhakti, surrender, God help me, when it is fried in that, then the desire will not sprout, then it won't sprout. Desires multiply desires. If a desire is fulfilled, it results in guilt, and if it is not fulfilled, it results in anger and jealousy. Now he says that what is the benefit of having this, whether fulfilling or not fulfilling? It is eventually leading us to a state of imbalance, a spiritual imbalance, right? Either it is causing anger and jealousy, or it is causing us greed. Finally, it causes a downfall in the human values. How to eradicate this? Sealing on desires is essential for a happy, successful life and a very healthy life, right? When you look at a person like Brother Satya was saying last time, less luggage, more comfort. And this is what desire has done. It's like a luggage we are carrying on our head as we walk around. When we enter a train, we still keep it on, not putting it at the place or offering at his lotus feet. It is like that. The burden is so much on, and it's like the dog which is chewing the bone. The blood is coming out in that, and the dog keeps chewing, thinking that the blood is coming out of the bone, but it's actually from his gums. So we end up doing this exercise over and over again, turning into a vicious whirlpool. So you can be happy, Bhagavan says, when the desires the control. Life is a long journey, you should have less luggage. So sealing on desires is what you must or you have to adopt today. You have to cut short your desires day by day. He knows we cannot do it at once. Our magnanimous Lord, he says, practically, he's a very most democratic Lord, very practical. He says, you have to start cutting it down day by day. You are under the mistaken notion that happiness lies in the fulfillment. But in fact, Swami says here, happiness to begins to dawn when desires are totally eradicated. When you reduce your desires, you advance toward the state of renunciation. We saw that, right? Satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam. Nirmohatvam, that is your moha, your attachment starts waning out. And when there is no attachment, why you do develop a desire? Because you have an attachment, right? So that starts waning out. And that's what Bhagavan says here, that when you reduce your desire, you advance towards state of renunciation. This instinct of ego and attachment will put on suffering. You will be blissful the moment you give up ego and attachment. So again, sealing on desires is about developing detachment and sacrifice. I'm sure, Brother Shastri, you were there when in 1983 or sometime when Bhagwan had laid out this concept of sealing on desires and encouraged all the devotees, guided them to get into this. There were, of course, misinterpretations. I mean, devotees, we being with limited mind, we started understanding, okay, let's save money like every month save. It was not that. So, Shastri, do you
Yeah,
recollect it?
yes, brother. I think it was very clear around Swami's 60th birthday in Hillview Stadium at that time.
Yes.
So
Really.
he very clearly emphasized and given a lot of importance to the ceiling on desires. What he meant by the ceiling on desires is he was very clear. You see, it's suppose I have something and I am partaking it just like that because I have $1,000, so I give $100. No,
Hmm.
that's not the
Hmm.
way. It was the bhava with which you really be a part of that. You're doing service because it's an opportunity that is given to you. So with that feeling of I think you also mentioned some time back when Swami was constructing super specialty hospital also. He declined all the money that was collected overseas or from all the centers.
Yes.
He comes and just takes the one envelope from one of the students of the hospital. So his entire message to us in terms of sealing on desires is in true spirit.
Yeah.
You see, you consistently save something for a good cause for whatever you want to, and also not to build up your desires one upon the pile them up,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then you overburden yourself, as your nice picture is there with a lot of suitcases.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
True.
Swami's messages were very practical, down to earth, which is in reach to every one of us to practice. That
True.
is what is the greatest thing that he had given to us, the ceiling one desires. In fact, I was telling my wife yesterday to have the ceiling one desires, the 9 points code of conduct,
Yes.
which he emphasized so much in his 60th
Yes.
birthday. That is around 1985. So
85.
37 years down the line, I mean, each devotee to really contemplate on that and see how much we've implemented, where we are
Hmm.
failing, what more can we do to stick to those, either through for the organization or at the individual level.
True.
Both are very clearly laid out by
Really.
him. So,
Good.
sealing on desires was something that Swami knew that we cannot live without desire. So, that's
Yes.
the
Yes.
fundamental point. And therefore, he guides all of us so beautifully, saying that sealing. So,
Yes.
have that.
Feeling. Have desire, but yes, it's it's yeah. I remember that time, 1985 birthday. We were there that time, and 83 started this. He cleared this, but 85 was the review he was doing of the way people have taken it, devotees have taken it, and he
That's
was really he was upset about it that this is not the way. And then he was
yeah,
saying that it is something that you like to have and you are having and you partake that. That is, you share your part of the being with the necessity of somebody who needs it.
right.
Right? Good. Okay, great. Let's move on. Thank you. So, how do we get into this ceiling on desires? How can we walk towards it rather? Now, there is something we have to really be sure about in this concept is difference between what is a want and what is a need. The basic necessities to exist, to live, to survive nicely, I mean, without struggle, is a need. You drink water is a need. Eating food is a need. Shelter, house, these are basic needs. Wants is when we talk about buffet system, where we just go on hogging and not hogging. Never mind, we have been invited, including me. So that is something where we start doing it more than what the body needs. That is a want. Car you may need, depends, in India, what kind of car you are taking, what kind of use. Like in Singapore, public transport is perfectly fine. It helps us to walk. I used to keep the car at that time. I, Now, when I'm here, maybe wisdom has dawned a little late, but yes, I'm not keeping it. I don't know about future, but at the moment, I felt that nothing has changed after leaving the car. So again, it's an important part for us to understand the difference between want and need. Okay, and sealing of desires is to non-violate the limits. Exercise control by distinguishing between need, want, necessity, and greed. Bhagavan says, don't waste food. Don't waste time. There are the four categories that Swami has said. Don't waste food, don't waste time, don't waste money, and don't waste energy. These are the four cornerstones in which laid this concept of sealing on desires. Now, each one we can take it. Food is God. Bhagavan says, don't waste food. Food wasted by one person can alleviate the suffering, hunger of the other. Don't waste food. Your body is made of food and you are the result of the food eaten by the parents. Annam Brahma. Okay. And then moderate food gives us immense ease, says Swami. Eat as much as it is necessary to eat, but do not throw away food, right? When in the 70s, when Swami Karunyananda was with Swami in the near Dharmakshetra, they were staying. And then one fine morning, he happened to see Swami Karunyananda that there were boys who were trying to take out food from the garbage. And he was in tears. And then Swami said, look, concerned, what is the problem? And he said, Swami, here we have the creator of the universe, the avatar. And just next to him are these boys who are struggling to eat, finding it from the garbage. And Swami says, you're right in what you think and feel, but I know much beyond that. I'm aware about the past as well, while you are seeing only the present. Then Swami went on to say, these very same boys wasted a lot of food in their previous birth, which they are collecting now. Brothers and sisters, look at this, justice. This is called nyaya, which we may not be aware. We start cursing and you're talking and taking names and telling God what you have done to us, not realizing that, because we are not aware about what all things we have done in the past in our conscious memory. But He, being the supreme judge, He's perfectly right in His justice. He knows what has been done. All right. So let's not waste food. It's very important. Even if you go to a restaurant, somebody's house, at your home, please encourage your children that not a single morsel of food must be wasted. All right. Because this is what our Lord says, and this is what a part of a very serious part of the sealing on desires. And if we waste it, we'll have to come back again and collect some time or the other. Time is God. Swami says, don't waste time. Don't waste time is waste, means life wasted. God is exalted as Kala Kalaya Namaha. Kala Kalaya Namaha, Kala Titaya Namaha, Kala Swarupaya Namaha. That means time is the form of God. Let's not waste time. And that's where Swami exhorts us to take particular, sometimes sitting and watching serials and TVs and things where we can do something better, read Swami's literature, do something, go to Seva, go to some bhajan, or help somebody. So these are important part for us to, understand. Money is God. God is wealth. Since God is wealth, misuse of money is evil. He doesn't say it is wrong. It is evil. Because he knows in Kali Yuga, these money business will thrive a lot and people will be wasting, having plenty of houses, maybe fleet of cars, maybe, things which you don't even need. I was listening to one of the talk shows where I saw one of the Bollywood singers. I will not name singers, they may have, but he was talking about his collection and 700 pair of shoes he has. 700 pair. That means every day two shoes can be changed. This is where sealing of desires comes for us to understand, do we need it? Practice charity by gifting away money, food, clothes, houses instead of misusing it in extravagance. Misuse of money is not only evil but sin. Deva Priti, Papa Viti, Sanganiti, Papa Viti. We have fear, run away from bad company, fear from any sin that we are doing. And this is where Bhagavan says, wasting of money is sin. So, brothers and sisters, an important reminder to all of us to self check and see whether we are engaged with that. Are we wasting money? Then energy is God. Now, this is where he opens the dimension to a very subtle part of it. Anger, desires, and bad thoughts deplete physical, mental, spiritual energy. Don't waste energy. People waste energy by indulging in bad thoughts, bad looks, bad hearing. That means, in total, the five sense organs that we misuse is a part of wasting of energy. Again, we have all discussed this, the five sense organs and how it is misused, and whether we are taking sattvic food, not only by the physical organs we have, but also subtly sattvic vision, sattvic hearing, sattvic talking. They all become a part of not wasting energy. So these are the four cornerstones that Swami highlighted as a part of the Sealing in Desires program, not to waste. And in fact, I remember those days we had these booklets which came out, I'm sure, into other states as well. We were in Madhya Pradesh, and it came out with Sealing on Desires and to log, did we waste energy? Did we waste money? Of course, we were in school, so we didn't have money to waste money. We were from a pretty middle class. But the point here is, again, it brings us to important. It's not about you being nice or disciplined when you don't in poverty. It's about nice and discipline when you have full affluence. Just as we hear stories about Warren Buffett, he has everything to do disposal. But remember, he is staying in a house since 1957, the same house. He buys or he drives only the reused cars. I mean, there are a lot of things which is spoken about Warren Buffett, and I think it fits quite verily ceiling of desires. He may have amassed wealth, he may have given opportunities to world for employment or in charity, philanthropy, but his way of living is very simple, right? He may not be truly a side devotee in the sense, but actually, if you talk about ceiling of desires, I'm sure that he's doing on this. Very important part. Again, ceiling of desire is not violating the limits, right? When we are speaking, talking, this is also something where it comes to exercise, control on energy, ceiling on energy, wastage of energy. You know, Swami says when you're going to talk or when we are talking something or we are, discussing, is it kind? There are certain filters to be put. Is it necessary? Is it true? Will it hurt anyone? Will it improve in my silence? These are the few things which are important reminders for us to understand whether it is necessary to indulge. Okay, so again, an important part to extend the concept of ceiling on desires on this realm of when we are engaging, because the gossip is one of the most prominent thing which is taking up energy. Whole day we are talking, we are discussing, and we are not measuring or calibrating whether it was needed. All right. So again, an important part of reminder, four cornerstones, we must look into our lives and see whether we are violating that as part of Sai principle. And if we are, then we know what we have to do. Start controlling them, start putting ceilings on them. Swami says our life can be compared to a business enterprise. The body's normal temperature is 90 degrees. If the temperature goes up to 99, then it is a symptom of disease. Blood pressure also has normal range of 120 by 80. Again, if it goes up or below, again, there's a problem. Even our eyeball can see a light only within a specified range. All right. Any deviation will result in damage to the retina, correct? If you try to focus too close to, to the intensity of the light, then of course it will damage the retina. Thus, our body may be called a limited company. How beautifully it defines. It's a limited company. Why? Because everything is working within the limits. So whether it is in food or water or drink or words we speak, in fact, all our living habits, moderation should be observed. Exceeding the limits will entail. Now, here, how beautifully he has taken the example of the body and saying that anything, the rivers when it flows, the banks, the limits, as long as the river is within the limits, we are safe, we are okay. Same river is, going to be worshipped, drank, and used for all our farms and things like that. But same river in the deluge of rains, what happens is it crosses the limits, disaster, right? So limit is extremely important. So limit to limitless by observing limits. That was an important part that my mother used to always remind. From limit to limitless by observing limit. And observing limit in what? In energy, in time, in money, in food. This is where we have been, guided by Bhagwan. We have to be careful about this particular syndrome, momentary attraction distraction syndrome. It happens when you do a window shopping, when you are watching a TV. Momentarily you get attached, and then you get distracted by that, and then rest everything follows. Swami says the moment you are attracted towards something, in your mind arises a korika or a materialistic desire. Korika is a materialistic desire, not a spiritual desire. The moment we are attracted. Now, if some reason this is not fulfilled, which obviously has several conditions to be done before it gets fulfilled, then what starts happening? It leads to badha or disappointment, and then despair. It may be anger if you could not get what you really desperately wanted. It can lead to jealousy if somebody has it which you wanted and you could not get it, right? So it will lead to disappointment, despair, explained by Swami. Drishti leads to akarshana, korika, and then badha, right? So this particular concept of MAD, just remember, momentary attraction distraction syndrome is a cause of several, maybe it's something which leads to a disturbed state of mind, and the moment your mind and your psychic is disturbed, your being gets disturbed, and you start getting health problems. Start getting stress, you start getting worry, you start getting into depression. Why? Because you have not been able to do certain things or get certain things in life. So it's all connected. Again, back to coming to the place where ceiling of desire, because we did not control it, right? So sometimes, let's say when you get a chocolate, right? There are two ways of doing it. You like the chocolate, you bite, and you finish it off immediately. And what is second one? Second way is to slowly roll it up and gradually have the same taste go on for some time. So that's like completeness of desire, right? Rather than getting too excited and eating too many of them, which again turns into greed because you want more and more about it. All right. So this syndrome is something that we need to be careful about in our lives, because it happens to everyone. It suddenly provokes a thought turns into a desire, and then the whole cycle of from thought, as you remember, Swami said, sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a tendency, sow a tendency, reap a character, and sow a character, reap a destiny. So the whole thing then starts changing our whole spiritual fabric of our being. All right. Um, should we get into this if we have time? Okay, we may have a time for one slide and then we get on. How do we deal now? We have spoken about desires, what are ceiling desires, why ceiling on desires, where we saw Swami's speech when he says why it is important. We saw the four cornerstones. Now let's do this last, because then we have to ponder about it and speak a bit after this with all of you. Um, so now desires is what? Why do we have desire? Because we want happiness, correct? We want the fulfillment of desires because it results into happiness. But does it necessarily having too many desires? Because not every desires get fulfilled. And the very fact that we are born again is an outcome of unfulfilled desires, right? As it is in Bhagavad Gita. And we all know, we all come back again with that unfulfilled actions, unfulfilled thoughts, desires which we had nestled within us to bring us back into this. Now let's look at this equation. Happiness is equal to desires fulfilled divided by desires entertained. This is a formula. Why? Because your happiness will be only when you get it fulfilled. But we are not realizing 1:2 how many ratio of desire that we entertain. So now the happiness goes down if the number of desires entertained goes up. If you're having too many mad syndromes, momentary attraction, detraction, the korikas, developing so many desires, then the happiness will go down because we have not been able to fulfill them. On the other hand, the happiness grows up. It's a typical mathematical equation where if the denominator goes down, then the main component goes up. So if the desires entertained, we start reducing too many desires, too many man syndromes, and bring it down, then the likelihood of happiness rising is more and more and more. All right. So it's an important equation we have to understand. If you're not happy, is because not because despite having some desires fulfilled, is because we have entertained too many of them, and they are residing, even if we are not consciously thinking, they're residing in our subconscious mind, provoking us into despair, into anger, into jealousy, into a state of dissatisfied being. All right. So minimum desire, Swami says, is who is the richest man? The man who has minimum desires. That means we are not bothered about some KPI all the time. No, I have to achieve, I have to achieve. The only KPI we are existing is to follow Swami's dictum, to love him more and more, to help our fellow brethren, whatever we can do. Not get into the vicious cycle of acquiring, getting more money, getting more, stuff. So that is where Bhagavan says the person having minimum desires is the happiest, while the person richest, while the person having high number of desires, many desires, he is the poorest man. Why? Because he's slave to the desires. He'll keep moving around till it is fulfilled. Okay, it's like this seesaw where you can see when we have the God essence in us higher, the component is higher, the focus to to stay glued or to stay focused and meditated on God or to love Him more and more higher, then the seesaw will be weighing heavy on the God side, and automatically the world will lose its parlance. But if we are too much focused on the world, too much focused on the Maya, to relations, to gathering money or whatever we want as far as connected to this body identification, then the God goes lighter and we are too engrossed in this world. So this is an important page where I felt we should connect and end this particular today. And to realize on the happiness equation, the number of desires that we are entertaining is causing really a shift into our being happy. All right. With that, I think we have come to today's session conclusion. Um, I would like to get the Shastri, and in fact, let's get some of us to share. I mean, do we understand, do we have any control on our desires, or sometimes the desires control us? Brother Satya, I always get inspired by Brother Satya also, for whatever seva that I see him peacefully not getting noticed and doing it. I'm sure he's the man with richest man with least desires. But Satya, how do you get that? How do you achieve that?
I will put two big words on those things what you said. Okay. I mean, just take it as it is. As important thing as you said before, live in the present. That's the most crucial for every day. Even I always tell my children, my family also. Definitely, the desires there is a limit, but the moment you can't control, that is what we need to practice it. Other than that, nothing else can be done. Now we after the end of the session, we can say I want to control my desire. Everything is fine, but very difficult when in day-to-day activities, daily life, and all those things. This is what this type of satsangs and then keep encouraging and keep let us talk. We have to encourage, we have to practice it. That's the only thing we can do. But it's easy to say, but hard to practice. But slowly we need to get into that. That's the only thing I can say.
Yeah. But does it happen sometimes that you have an intense desire, let's say for anything, for maybe to get something, to buy something, and there are instances where consciously you could overcome by being reminded of Swami's teachings or values, or putting something else high in the priority?
One thing before for me, I always practice before I do something. I just look at it whether it is needed or necessary or not. It is a want and need basis. Yes, okay. And if it is really needed, go for it. If not, try to take it as far as possible. How to extend, I mean, extend the shell life as much as possible. Then you see whether it is, then it becomes a need for it, right? That's the only thing we can do. It. I mean, mostly I try to do that, irrespective of human work nature and also something like we want to try to extend as much as possible. That's the only way we can do it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Very conscious about what is need and what is want. But sometimes, Brother Shastri, we don't realize how a want becomes a need. Slowly it creeps into our being. The one which is want, that is nice to have, becomes a necessity to have.
You mean the want becoming a need? So I think it's, I won't say convenience to our convenient philosophy, something called like, there's a convenient philosophy they call. You convert everything to your own requirements, or you act accordingly as per what satisfies your small self. So but without seeing the larger cause or the effect of it. So therefore I think when you say when we're again, I think as Brother Satya said, that's very clear whether you are having that want consciously or it's unconsciously built in through your system, so it becomes a need for you. So that filter of discrimination, I think these 3Ds are very, very, I mean, 5Ds are very, very important for us, the filters, for us to identify. The discrimination is the only weapon that the human being is carrying in terms of, having that jnana to filter out. So the want and the need, very, very simply, we have to use that, the filter of the discrimination, viveka.
Viveka is important. That is a very important aspect you brought. And discrimination again of individual will depend on your spiritual evolution, on
Yes,
your spiritual understanding, maturity, that what you define as a discrimination between want and need. And that is where this satsang, like Brasatya was saying, we all come together to brood a little bit more, to understand. It helps us that what Swami wants, what Swami likes, what Swami says, and then we say, oh, okay, so I was doing it wrong. This is not my want, I mean, my need. It was a want. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Brother Shastri, so one of the 108 names, Mahatma, that we end with the session.
yeah, Sairam, brothers and sisters, today's 108 name is Om Sri Sai Adi Shaktaye Namaha. So it's salutation to Sri Sai, who is the cosmic energy itself. So all of us know that Swami has proved that he is the Adi Shakti Swarupa on many occasions. By before he had done 1963, when he publicly declared, and he had the paralysis on the left side, and then he declared that yes, he is the Adi Shakti Swarupa, and Shej Bharadwaj had the boon from the Lord Shiva and all that. So that we know very clearly that Swami is that cosmic. And if I remember very clearly, one of the Kodaikanal interviews, one of the students asked Swami, Swami, you say that we are also God and you are also God. But how was that we are not experience that we are God? So then Swami see his answers are always very simple and straightforward. He says that uh, okay, if you are connected with, that means you are the one and there is no second. Then if you're fully conscious of that, then absolutely there is no difference. But for you to reach that state of being one only and there is no second is that thing, that the journey that all of us need to take. So that's how Swami concludes that when we say Swami is the Adi Shakti or the cosmic energy that has come down in this form. And I still remember vividly standing in the veranda there and all the time telling us that how long you guys will hang on to my physical form, see me beyond my form, beyond my form. So that I did not, I mean, personal, I would say, did not make much difference to me because his form is so beautiful. And moment you had is the first darshan, it is the lowest first sight. And whenever 100 times, 20, I mean, in a day also, you would love to go and have his darshan. So there was no limit because he's all
Yeah.
attractive and powerful. That is so. The energy that he has dissipated to us is nothing less than the cosmic energy. I just want to say one more point. When the whole scientific effort, materialistically, if we see today, as the scientific community of our 10,000 scientists worked over 30 years, and they have produced one of the most sophisticated telescope in the world, the humanity ever known it. It's called James Webb Space Telescope,
Mhm.
and it is launched somewhere about 8 9 months ago. It's now 1 million kilometers away from Earth, and it's revolving in a geostation. What do you call the one of the points where there is no gravity, and it's endlessly taking the pictures of the universe. They are finding more stunning pictures and more interesting happenings of the universe, how it has evolved and all that. But still, the creation, the material, the whole thing, the Hiranyagarbha, or the where the whole origin has come, it has no clue. It's only giving us more and more problems. I mean, let's say solutions being thrown to us, or problems are being thrown to the humanity. They're amazed. The whole scientific community is still amazed about to solve those puzzles and problems. So why I'm sharing with all of you is when I was a student of MSc Physics in Swami's Institute, that's where they conceived to launch something called a James Webb Space Telescope, which would
Okay.
see the universe through infrared rays. We have
Okay.
been so far seeing all the telescopes through optics. That means the visible light, the seven
Yes.
colors only. But now we have that infrared is the highest possible way of looking at the universe. And 30 years it had taken for humanity to put that telescope. Still, nobody has any clue. But we are all lucky that without so much of struggle, he was right in front of us, saying that yes, I am the Sarva Devata Atita Swarupa. and I'm the Adishakti, So we were so lucky enough, and we were, I would say, for thousands of years, probably whatever penance that we have done or our great grandfathers have done, that we could have that opportunity, and we shall not lose that opportunity. And Swami, one more thing, brother, I'm not sure I'm taking more time.
Sure,
See,
sure.
in terms of bhakti, I know, like, and identifying what Swami is not easy. Not all can recognize Swami as an avatar and experience that avatar. That also needs his grace, for sure. And what happens is Swami, all through his discourses, he emphasized so much about Gopikas and Krishna, the relation that all the Gopikas had. And it's, you listen to any song, or you listen to in deep about the relation between Gopikas and Krishna. Absolute oneness is what they must have seen Krishna as the small baby Krishna, and but still that the what they have caught in their heart, the moments that they have spent with Krishna in their heart, is what has lasted for the entire life. And now thousands of years, still today, thousands of exponents are speaking about this unending love and the bond of that, what do you mean by devotee and the devotion, and the Lord and the devotee. So so it's all binds down to the Adishakti Swarupa, the energy that we capture through a darshan, sparshan, sambhashan. Invariably, every one of us on this call, I'm sure, had that physical thing. So our uh, basic thing would be to hold on to that, the energy that we have been bestowed with by Swami. So when we say 108 names, I personally felt one day just a flash thought came, and I just said to Brother Bindu that at the end of session I would like to just say 108 name, and then
Yeah.
speak about the name. The reason is 108 names is characteristics. How
Mhm.
what Swami is, so down the line for 100 years later on, probably all of us had the physical darshan, but what remains is that 108 names describing his glory and his characteristics. Therefore, each one of us, if we understand even one name of that 108 names in depth, I'm sure we would try to reach somewhere there. So that was the effort that I thought I would share week on week. Sairam.
Sure. Beautiful. And it's not only the 108 names, even the photographs of Swami. This is the only avatar whose direct photographs we have, brother.
Yeah, sure,
Rest,
brother.
rest, rest all has been beautifully captured out of a devotion aspect. But here, this avatar has given photographs
Yeah.
for humanity to keep seeing and getting inspired and motivated in the times to come, because he knows Kali Yuga is Kala Yuga, and it is going to be really challenging for mortals like all of us who are struggling. But thanks to him bringing us into his ring to see the master plan unfold, we are able to actually have a lot of self confidence. Yes, we can wait through any moments in life because of his name. you
See,
know
brother, one more point is Swami was always insisting on Bhava Priya. He's not Bahya Priya.
yes, yes.
See, not for kind of exorcism or kind of what do you call
Paraphernalia.
paraphernalia, but he's very much very clear. He's the smallest, the bhava that you have in your place of your heart would make your life so easy and comfortable.
True, true. Absolutely. With that note, I think we just end with Samasta Loka. Oh, Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. जय बोलिए भगवान श्री सत्य साईं बाबा जी की जय. Sai Ram. Sai
Sairam.
Ram, brothers.
Sairam.
Wonderful week.
Thank you.
Lovely days ahead. Sai Ram.
Um,
Right.
Bye. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.